Irish mythology counts a myriad of entities whose names and reputations are engraved into the history of its culture. Among them, there was once a being who made himself known through the terror and fear he inspired. Balor, the powerful leader of the dark and demonic race of the Fomorians, and a terrifying oppressor that once lived in ancient Ireland. The destructive nature of the deity led him to be often associated with death. He is sometimes depicted as a giant with an incredibly large poisonous eye overflowed with mortal power that could wreak destruction on anything it looked upon. There is not many sources that give enough plausible meanings behind his name, but the term Balor may have come from the Celtic word boleros, which can possibly stand for the flashing one or the deadly one. Because of his ocular peculiarity, the giant went by several other names including Balor of the Evil Eye, or Balor the Strong Smiter. Resembling somewhat to a monocular titan-like creature, his imagery is often compared to the Greek Cyclops and shows many parallels to the story of Ysbaddaden from Welsh mythology. There are arguments about how many eyes Balor was said to possess, and the extent of the capability of the destructive one. Although the Fomorian leader is most often described with one huge eye, many believed that Balor's evil eye was in fact an extra third one in the middle of his forehead. Otherwise he would be blind most of the time. While an alternative version which explains how he somehow gained his power, instead depicts the Irish god with only two eyes among which one is covered. When he was younger, Balor accidentally intoxicated one of his eye from looking into a smoky beverage concocted by the druids of his father. And in exchange, that eye became imbued with such baleful powers that it could kill anything that crossed its gaze. Therefore, due to its dangerous properties, Balor would always keep his evil eye closed while being surrounded by his own people, and would not hesitate to release that deadly weapon against his enemies on battle. It was commonly believed that the malevolent eye was covered all over by several eyelids to restrain away its destructive potency. Each one was so heavy that it required at least the strength of 4 warriors to lift them open. As each lid was progressively raised, the heat from the eye increased gradually until it can totally unleash its power, destroying everything in sight. The mythological history of Ireland, Labor Gabala Éireann, contains portions of text describing various waves of arrivals on Ireland, each of whom had to battle with the monstrous Fomorians who owned the island before the first invaders arrived. Balor initially made his appearance in the mythological cycle, one of the 4 major cycles of early Irish literary tradition describing the conflicts between the Fomorians and the divine Tuatha De Danann. Balor was a king and the implacable warchief of the Fomorians, a status he obtained thanks to the overwhelming power of his eye that brought him glory and success on battlefield. But one day, he heard a druid's prophecy that warned him that his unique daughter, Ethniu, would give birth to a son destined to kill his grandfather. The god attempted to outwit the prophecy by locking up his daughter in a tower, on the understandable assumption that if she never laid eyes on a man, she could never bear a child. Quite a story that resembles that of the king Acrisius from Greek mythology, who was also fated to die by the hands of his grandson, Perseus. However, this might have probably worked for the Fomorian king. But his own greed led to his downfall as he stole a coveted magical cow belonging to a man named Cian. And it was when he found his way to Balor's domain in the attempt to retrieve his cow, that Cian discovered the tower in which Ethniu was imprisoned and gained access to her with the help of a fairy woman. From their union, Ethniu gave birth to 3 sons, who were sent out to be drowned into the sea by Balor upon discovering their existence. Only one survived and would become the youthful warrior Lugh, a prominent god in Irish mythology. And despite being half Fomorian, Lugh fought on the side of the Tuatha De Danann and eventually fulfilled the feared prophecy at the Second Battle of Moytora. With the power conferred by his eye, many warriors were crushed by the single-eye giant including the king Nuada. But it was here that the sharp aim of Lugh ended the war, and brought victory to the Ethniu tribe when he killed Balor with a slingshot that drove out his eye through the backside of his skull, which then harmed the Fomorian soldiers standing behind him, subsequently defeating his grandfather's army and freed the island from their control. An alternative description of Balor's death says that he may have survived the loss of his eye, and was chased by Lugh to Mizen Head, where he was beheaded on a large boulder that shattered from the act. For this reason, he is sometimes interpreted as the personification of the scorching and setting sun of southwest promontories that causes crop failure and drought. Balor lasted long enough in Irish folklore, where he appears as a mythical tyrant with a huge destructive power in his eye. He was the most feared among all the Fomorians' leaders. Balor is obviously well known for the confrontation with his grandson, where he inevitably faced his prophesied death, and involuntarily became the progenitor of a bloodline that includes the heroes Lugh and Cuchulainn, the renowned figures appearing in Irish and Celtic mythology. If you've found this video interesting, consider leaving a like and subscribe in case you would like more videos covering Irish and Celtic mythology. And as always, stay curious.